Evelyn Bricks stood alone at the tall black gate of the Urbina mansion. The gate rose above her like a final wall, wide, shiny, and cold. It looked less like the entrance to a home, heavy. Then a small side door opened. Kenneth Urbina's personal aide stepped out. He was young, well-dressed, and careful with every movement. His shoes were polished. His shirt was crisp. His face carried the expression of someone trained to deliver messages without emotion. "Madam," he said politely, bowing slightly, "Sir says you should come inside. This is not the right place for discussions." Evelyn gave a small, tired smile. "After everything," she said softly, "you still think embarrassment is my problem." The aide glanced briefly at her phone, then looked away. "Please," he said again, "let us talk inside." Evelyn shook her head slowly. "No," she replied, "I've been silent inside for years." Her voice trembled, but she did not move. "You are just a messenger," she continued, her eyes steady. "Like I was. Like a slave." The word fell into the night air and refused to disappear. A slave. It was the word she had never dared to say out loud, hidden behind designer dresses, luxury vacations, and carefully posed smiles for cameras. The word that described her life perfectly, even when everything around her looked beautiful. The mansion door opened fully. Kenneth Urbina stepped out. Even at 65, he carried authority like a second skin. His presence alone commanded silence. He wore a white senator-style outfit, neatly pressed, the fabric expensive and flawless. Gold cufflinks gleamed under the lights. His grey hair was trimmed carefully, his posture straight, confident. Behind him, two of his wives stood calmly in the doorway. Elegant, composed, distant. They watched Evelyn the way people watched a play they already knew the ending of. Evelyn's chest tightened. "So this is how they watch me fall," she thought. Kenneth walked toward her slowly, unbothered, as if she were late for dinner rather than leaving his life. "What is all this, Evelyn?" he asked calmly. His voice was low and controlled but dangerous. "It's not nonsense," Evelyn replied. "It's freedom." Kenneth smiled faintly. "Freedom?" he repeated. "You want to leave my house after everything I did for you?" Evelyn swallowed. She remembered being 26, fresh out of university, afraid of poverty, afraid of uncertainty. She remembered how her mother had cried tears of joy when Kenneth proposed. "This is your escape," her mother had said, but escape had become a cage. "Yes," Evelyn said clearly. "I'm done." Kenneth's smile disappeared. "You're done?" he asked slowly. His eyes dropped to her phone. "You're recording?" "Yes," Evelyn replied, "because tomorrow you will say I'm unstable, or ungrateful, or that I imagined everything." One of the wives scoffed quietly. Kenneth stepped closer until Evelyn could smell his expensive cologne. "Come inside," he said softly. "We'll talk." Evelyn tightened her grip on her phone. "No," she said, "I will not step into that house again." Kenneth's eyes hardened. "You are my wife." "I was your wife," Evelyn corrected him, "but in that mansion, I was a slave." The word hit harder this time. Kenneth laughed, once sharp and offended. "Slave, after I gave you everything?" "Yes," Evelyn said, "you gave me things and used them like chains." Her voice cracked, but she continued, "When I questioned you, you reminded me where you found me. When I asked for respect, you reminded me of your power. You never needed to shout, you made me kneel with silence." Kenneth's jaw tightened. "I never told you to kneel." "You didn't need to," Evelyn replied. "Your pride did it for you." For the first time, something flickered in his eyes. "If you leave," he said quietly, "you will regret it." Evelyn froze. She knew that tone. It meant destruction dressed as calm. She raised her phone higher. "You just threatened me," she said clearly, "and today people will hear it." Kenneth stared at her. "You want war?" Evelyn shook her head. "No," she said, "I want my life." She picked up her bag. "I was a slave there," she whispered, "but I was a queen in my father's house." Kenneth did not stop her. He only smiled. A slow, dangerous smile. Evelyn did not sleep that night. She lay on a thin mattress in her father's modest house, staring at the ceiling as the fan hummed weakly above her head. The walls were plain. The paint was old. The room smelled faintly of disinfectant and dust. It was nothing like the Urbina mansion, but it was quiet. honest, safe. Her phone lay beside her, face down. It buzzed, once, twice, then again. Every vibration felt like a warning shot. Evelyn turned on her side and closed her eyes, but sleep refused to come. The silence was too loud. Her mind replayed the image of Kenneth's smile at the gate, slow, confident, dangerous. You will regret it. By morning, regret had a name. The internet was on fire. Evelyn sat up slowly, pulled the blanket off her shoulders, and reached for her phone. She unlocked it and froze. Notifications flooded her screen. Mentions, messages, missed calls. She opened one link. Billionaire's wife walks out of marriage. Another. Sources say actress is unstable after mansion exit. Another. Inside the Obina marriage scandal. Her fingers trembled as she scrolled. Photos of her at the gate had already gone viral. Someone had zoomed in on her shaking hands. Another account circled her suitcase in red. A blogger added dramatic captions. She wanted fame. Now she wants pity. Ungrateful woman leaves luxury behind. Some women don't know when they've won the lottery. Evelyn dropped the phone onto the bed. Her mother burst into the room moments later, phone pressed to her ear, face red with anger. They're lying, her mother shouted. They're rewriting your life like a movie script. Evelyn didn't answer. Her father followed quietly. He sat on the wooden chair in the corner and watched her for a long moment. They're trying to erase you, her mother continued. Kenneth is behind this. I know him. Evelyn finally spoke. He always is. Her father leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. When powerful men lose control, he said softly, they destroy the picture before they destroy the person. That afternoon, the first legal notice arrived. A delivery man knocked once, handed over an envelope, and left without a word. Evelyn opened it slowly, court summons, accusations, threats wrapped in legal language. She hadn't finished reading when her phone buzzed again. Another notice, then another. Kenneth was moving fast, very fast. Evelyn's hands began to shake uncontrollably. She slid down from the bed and sat on the floor, back against the wall. Her chest felt tight. Her breathing became shallow. They want to take everything, she whispered. Her mother rushed to her side. He won't succeed, she said, but her voice shook. Evelyn pressed her forehead to her knees. For the first time since she left the mansion, the fear returned fully. What if I lose? What if he wins again? That was her lowest moment, the moment when courage began to feel expensive. Then something changed. A video appeared online, a young woman bare-faced, shaking, honest. I dated an older rich man, the woman said. He controlled me with money. When I tried to leave, he told everyone I was mad. Evelyn stared at the screen. Another video followed. My sister married wealth, another woman said. She disappeared inside it. Then another and another, different faces, same story, control, silence, fear. Evelyn watched with tears streaming down her face. She wasn't alone. For years she had believed her pain was personal, that she had failed, that she wasn't strong enough. But now she saw the pattern clearly. This wasn't love, it was power. Her phone rang again. This time it wasn't hate, it was support. Messages poured in. Thank you for speaking. You're brave. I left too. Evelyn covered her mouth and cried, but Kenneth was not done. That evening, one of his other wives went live on social media. She sat elegantly on a cream sofa, smiling confidently. I don't know why Evelyn is lying, the woman said calmly. Our husband is kind. He treats us well. Some people just don't know how to appreciate blessings. The comments exploded with praise. See, this one is grateful. She knows how to keep a man. Evelyn wanted attention. Evelyn felt sick. Her father switched off the phone. They will always defend the cage, he said. Some cages are lined with gold. Then came the final blow. A leaked audio surfaced late at night. Kenneth's voice, calm, cold. Destroy her image, he said. Once the public hates her, she will beg. The internet exploded again. But this time, something was different. People listened. Journalists asked questions. Lawyers spoke out. Women reposted the audio with one sentence. We know this voice. Evelyn stood by the window, watching the streetlights flicker. She felt fear. Yes. But she also felt something new. Resolve, the same fame that once trapped her, was now turning into armor. Her phone buzzed with a new message. Unknown number, tomorrow, drug test, public, cameras will be there. Evelyn's heart pounded. She knew what it meant. This was Kenneth's next move. She closed her eyes. Tomorrow would decide everything. Morning came too quickly. Evelyn stood in front of the small mirror in her father's bathroom, staring at her reflection. Her face looked thinner, her eyes were darker. But beneath the exhaustion, something else stared back at her defiance. She wore a simple cream dress, no makeup, no jewelry. If they want truth, she whispered to herself, they will see it raw. Outside, the street was already alive. Cameras, microphones, people shouting her name. By the time she stepped out of the house, the world had gathered to watch her fall or rise. Reporters pushed forward. Evelyn, are the allegations true? Did you abuse substances? Are you mentally stable? Did Senator Obinna force you to leave? The questions came like stones. Her mother clutched her arm tightly. Don't talk, she whispered. Let truth speak. Evelyn nodded. She walked into the medical center without saying a word. Inside, the air smelled of disinfectant and nerves, white walls, bright lights, a long hallway that felt like a tunnel to judgment. People whispered. Some pitied her, some doubted her, some smiled like they were finally entertained. A nurse approached calmly. Madam Evelyn Bricks, she said, professional and neutral. Please follow me. Evelyn's heart pounded as she stepped forward. This test wasn't just about substances, it was about credibility, motherhood, freedom. If she failed, no matter how false the allegations were, the world would never listen to her again. In another part of the city, Kenneth Obinna watched everything unfold on a large television screen. He sat comfortably in his study, dressed neatly, tea untouched beside him. One of his aides stood quietly in the corner. She won't survive this, Kenneth said calmly. Public opinion is louder than truth. The aide hesitated. And if she passes, sir? Kenneth smiled. Then we change the story. Back at the center, Evelyn sat alone in a small room. Her phone had been taken away. Silence pressed against her ears. She clasped her hands tightly, praying quietly not for victory, but for strength. Minutes passed, then more. Finally, the door opened. The doctor entered holding a sealed file. Evelyn stood slowly, legs trembling. Madam Evelyn Bricks, the doctor said clearly, your test results are ready. The room felt smaller. Her heartbeat filled her ears. Please, Evelyn said softly, just tell me. The doctor looked at her, then at the paper. You tested negative for all illegal substances. Silence, then noise, shouts from outside, camera shutters exploding, voices rising. Evelyn closed her eyes, tears streamed down her face. She didn't cry loudly, she didn't collapse, she just breathed. For the first time in days, she breathed. Outside, the headlines changed in real time. Drug allegations proven false. Actress cleared. Questions read to Obinna. Kenneth watched the screen, his jaw tightening. They bribed the lab, he snapped. Push that angle. Within minutes, new narratives appeared. She acted innocent. Money bought the results. Still unstable. But something had shifted. People were listening differently now. A journalist went live. If these allegations were false, she asked, what else might have been false? The question echoed. That evening, something unexpected happened. One of Kenneth's wives packed her bags. Quietly, no press, no cameras. She left before dawn. Another followed weeks later. The mansion grew quieter, the smiles thinner. Kenneth began appearing at events more frequently, laughing loudly, posing with confidence, trying too hard. But the cracks were showing. Evelyn, meanwhile, stepped back from the spotlight. She stayed at her father's house. She cooked simple meals. She slept deeply. She spoke to a therapist for the first time in years. And slowly, she healed. Messages flooded her inbox. Young women, married women, students, mothers. Thank you. You saved me. I left because of you. Evelyn read every message. She didn't reply to all, but she carried them in her heart. One evening, her father sat beside her on the veranda. You lost gold, he said gently, but you found yourself. Evelyn smiled faintly. Then Kenneth made his final move. A court notice arrived. He was filing for full custody. Evelyn's hands shook as she read it. This was no longer about pride. This was war. The court date was set. The night before the hearing, Evelyn sat alone in her room, staring at her phone. She opened the video she had recorded at the gate. Kenneth's voice played back clearly. "You will regret it." She saved it in multiple places. Then she whispered, "Tomorrow, I speak." The courtroom was colder than Evelyn expected, not in temperature, but in feeling. The walls were tall and pale, the wooden benches were hard and polished. Every sound echoed louder than it should. Footsteps, coughs, whispers, even breathing felt public. Evelyn walked in slowly, dressed simply but neatly. Her hands trembled slightly, but her back was straight. She reminded herself of one thing as she took her seat. Tell the truth. Let it stand on its own. Across the room, Kenneth O'Binna sat confidently beside his legal team. He wore a calm expression, the kind that said he had been in many rooms like this and usually left victorious. When his eyes met Evelyn's, he gave a small nod. Not friendly, not kind, a warning. The judge entered. Everyone stood. Court was in session. The case began with formalities, but Evelyn barely heard them. Her heart beat too loudly. Her palms were damp. She clasped her fingers together and waited. Kenneth's lawyer stood first. "My lord," the lawyer began smoothly, "this case concerns a woman who walked out of her marital home under questionable circumstances and has since displayed unstable behavior." Evelyn's jaw tightened. The lawyer continued, painting a careful picture, words chosen like weapons. Allegations, doubts, suggestions. He spoke of Evelyn's past, her rise, her fame. She was given everything, he said, yet she abandoned her responsibilities. Kenneth nodded slightly, as if in agreement with every word. Then it was Evelyn's turn. Her lawyer stood and gestured gently. "Madam Evelyn Bricks," he said, "please tell the court, in your own words, why you left your marriage." The room grew quiet. Evelyn stood. For a moment, fear tried to pull her back down. Then she spoke. "I married for escape," she said calmly. "I stayed for survival. I left because I wanted to live." Murmurs spread across the room. She took a breath and continued. "I was not beaten," she said clearly, "but I was controlled. With money, with silence, with fear." Kenneth shifted in his seat. "When I asked questions," Evelyn went on, "I was reminded where I came from. When I asked for respect, I was reminded of power. I learned to keep quiet, not because I wanted peace, but because I wanted safety." The judge leaned forward slightly. "Madam Bricks," he said, "did your husband ever threaten you?" Evelyn swallowed. She reached into her bag and held up her phone. "Yes," she said, "and I recorded it." A ripple ran through the courtroom. Her lawyer submitted the recording. The audio played. Kenneth's voice filled the room. "You will regret it." Silence followed. Heavy silence. Kenneth's face tightened. The judge removed his glasses and looked directly at him. "Mr. O'Binna," he said slowly, "do you deny this recording?" Kenneth hesitated, then smiled faintly. "Context, my lord," he said. "Words can be twisted." Evelyn's lawyer stood again. "My lord," he said, "truth does not fear context." The judge nodded. Then came the testimonies. A therapist spoke about emotional abuse. A journalist spoke about manipulation of narratives. A digital analyst explained how false stories were planted online. Each voice added weight. Each word chipped away at power. Kenneth's lawyer tried to interrupt, tried to redirect, but the room had changed. The judge raised a hand. "I have heard enough," he said firmly. Kenneth sat back, his confidence slipping. Evelyn felt tears sting her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. This was not the time to break. The judge adjusted his glasses. "This court recognizes," he said, "that abuse does not always leave bruises." The words landed like thunder. Evelyn's breath caught. Kenneth's hands clenched. The judge continued, "Control, intimidation, and manipulation are forms of harm." The courtroom was silent. "Madam Bricks," the judge said gently, "you may sit." Evelyn lowered herself back onto the bench, her legs shaking. Kenneth's lawyer whispered urgently to him, Kenneth shook his head, frustrated. The judge looked at the documents one last time, then he raised his head. Everyone held their breath. The courtroom was so quiet that Evelyn could hear her own heartbeat. It thumped hard in her chest, steady and loud, like a drum announcing the end of something old. The air felt heavy, as if everyone was holding the same breath. Even the wooden benches seemed still. Even the fans stopped sounding loud. The judge sat upright, glasses balanced carefully on his nose. He looked down at the papers one last time, then lifted his head slowly. Everyone leaned forward. Even Kenneth, even the lawyers, even the people at the back who had been whispering before. After reviewing all evidence, the judge said, this court grants full custody to the mother. For 1 second, Evelyn did not understand. The words entered her ears but did not reach her mind. She blinked twice, like someone waking from a dream. Then it hit her. Her mouth opened in shock. Her breath broke. Tears rushed into her eyes like a river that had been blocked for too long. She lifted both hands and covered her face. A sob escaped her chest, deep, raw, and real. Not the kind of cry you do for the camera, the kind of cry you do when your soul finally believes it is safe. Her lawyer touched her shoulder gently. It's over, he whispered. You're free. Evelyn nodded, still crying. Her legs were weak, her body trembled with relief. It felt like she had been carrying a heavy load on her head for years, and suddenly someone had lifted it. Across the room, Kenneth sat frozen. His confidence looked tired. His eyes were wide, not because he did not hear the judge, but because he did not believe it could happen to him. His lips pressed into a hard line. His jaw looked clenched. He stayed still, like a man whose world had been flipped upside down. For the first time since Evelyn married him, Kenneth O'Binna looked like a man who had lost. Not just a case, a grip. The judge continued speaking, giving final instructions, warning both sides to obey the ruling. But Evelyn barely heard any of it. Her head was full of one sentence: full custody to the mother. When court ended, people stood up. Chairs scraped, lawyers gathered files. Some people smiled for Evelyn, some looked shocked. A few looked angry on Kenneth's behalf. Evelyn wiped her tears and stood. She did not look at Kenneth as she walked out. Not because she feared him, but because she refused to give him the honor of her eyes. Outside the court, reporters were waiting like a storm. Cameras were raised. Microphones stretched forward. Voices shouted her name as if it was a match dropped near petrol. Evelyn, over here. How do you feel? Do you have anything to say? Is it true you lied? Is it true the billionaire is still coming after you? Evelyn stepped out slowly, dressed in a clean white suit with an elegant hat. She did not look messy. She did not look broken. She looked like someone who had survived. Her mother stood beside her, face tight, protective. Her father stood behind them, quiet and calm, like a wall. Evelyn looked at the cameras. Her eyes were still red, but her voice was steady. I didn't walk away because I hated wealth, she said. I walked away because I loved my soul. Her words traveled faster than the reporters could type. Within hours, the clip was everywhere. People shared it on WhatsApp. They posted it on TikTok. They argued about it on Twitter. TV stations replayed it like it was breaking news. It was no longer just Evelyn's story. It became a warning. Some girls who used to shout, "Better to cry in a Ferrari," began to keep quiet. Some women who had been suffering in silence began to talk. Some mothers who used to push their daughters into rich marriages began to think twice. Evelyn returned home that evening exhausted. She thought the victory would feel like fireworks, but it felt like a deep tiredness leaving her bones. Like a long sickness finally ending. She sat on her father's veranda. The air was cool. The street was noisy in the distance. Her phone kept buzzing again, this time with support. You're brave. Thank you for speaking. You saved me. I left too. Evelyn stared at the messages. She felt tears again, but softer this time. Her father sat beside her. You lost gold, he said gently. Evelyn smiled faintly. But I found myself. He nodded. And that is more valuable. For a few days, Evelyn stayed quiet. She stayed off social media. She avoided interviews. She just rested. But rest did not mean life had become easy. Kenneth O'Binna did not accept the loss. He acted calm in public, but the people close to him knew the truth. Kenneth was angry. Very angry. He was a man used to getting what he wanted, used to people bowing, used to fear, used to control. Now, for the first time, a woman had walked away and did not return, and the world clapped for her. That insult burned him. At first, Kenneth tried to fight the story with words. New posts appeared online from unknown accounts. Evelyn bribed the court. Evelyn's lawyer is corrupt. Evelyn is acting. She wants pity. But the noise did not stick like before. People had seen too much. They had heard his voice in the recording. They had watched Evelyn pass the drug test. They had watched the court ruling. So Kenneth changed his plan. He stopped trying to win the internet. He started trying to win behind the scenes. One by one, people around Evelyn began to face trouble. A friend who helped Evelyn find a lawyer was called in for questioning. A makeup artist who posted support for Evelyn said men came to her shop asking scary questions. A producer who offered Evelyn a role suddenly received threats and backed out. Then something worse happened. Evelyn's cousin, an innocent man who barely even spoke to her, was arrested one morning on his way to work. He was released later, but shaken. "They said I convinced you to leave," he told Evelyn, voice trembling. "They said I poisoned your mind." Evelyn's stomach dropped. She realized Kenneth was not trying to hurt her only. He was trying to isolate her. He was trying to make people afraid to stand beside her. She made a decision that night. She would not sit and wait for fear to swallow her again. She would move forward, not loudly, but firmly. So she began to rebuild her life. First, she returned to acting, not with big, glamorous roles. Those doors were still shaking from the scandal, so she started small. A short film here, a supporting role there, a radio drama, a voiceover. She worked hard, not to impress the internet, but to rebuild her name with real work. And slowly, opportunities began to return. A director called her. "I watched your interview," he said. "You are stronger than most people. I want you on my set." Evelyn cried when she heard that, not because she needed validation, but because she realized she could still become something even after the fall. Then she began to travel. At first, she traveled for peace. She went to Ghana for a small film festival, sitting quietly in the back row, wearing simple clothes, trying not to be noticed. But people noticed anyway. Some greeted her kindly, some whispered, but she kept her head high. From Ghana, she flew to Kenya for a wellness retreat, somewhere quiet, with trees and birds and soft wind. There, she learned how to breathe again without fear. She went to South Africa for a creative conference where she met other filmmakers and writers. She traveled to the UK for auditions and training, trying to improve her skills, trying to grow beyond the old version of herself. Every new country felt like a new page. Every new airport felt like a promise. You are not trapped anymore. But even as she moved forward, the rumors followed. On social media, blogs began to post new stories. Evelyn has a new boyfriend abroad. Evelyn is dating a young actor. Evelyn moved on too fast. She left for another man. At first, Evelyn laughed. Then she stopped laughing, because she knew what these rumors were meant to do. They were meant to make her look guilty, to make her look like she left for romance, not for survival. And she knew who benefited from that story: Kenneth. Her mother wanted her to respond. "Clear your name," her mother shouted. "Tell them the truth." Evelyn shook her head. "No," she said, "if I chase every lie, I will never rest." But the rumors grew louder when Evelyn began to appear in photos with a male colleague, a young actor on set, smiling beside her after a successful shoot. It was harmless, professional. Yet blogs wrote, "She has replaced the billionaire." Evelyn stared at her phone and sighed. "I can't control what people say," she told herself. "I can only control who I become." Still, Kenneth did not accept that she had moved on. In his mind, Evelyn was still his, even if the court had ruled, even if the world had clapped. So he kept pushing. People close to her continued to face trouble. Evelyn made a choice. She would stop hiding. She would stop shrinking. She didn't need to drag Kenneth online, but she would not allow fear to silence her story. So she accepted one powerful interview, carefully planned, calm, respectful. She sat on camera wearing a simple, elegant outfit. Her hair was neat. Her voice was clear. She did not insult Kenneth. She did not shout. She spoke like a woman who had survived. "I will not fight with lies," she said. I will fight with truth. I am rebuilding. I am working. I am healing. The interview went viral, and this time the comments were different. She's grown. She's healed. She's teaching women to choose peace. This is what strength looks like. Kenneth watched the clip, and the world saw something else. Kenneth's attacks began to look smaller, not powerful, just bitter, just desperate. As months passed, Evelyn's career improved. She featured in a popular film. She attended premieres. She signed brand deals, but only with brands that matched her new image. Dignity, courage, self-worth, and she created something even bigger. A small foundation, not huge, not noisy. A simple program to support young women leaving controlling relationships, offering counseling, legal guidance, and skills training. Her father was proud. Her mother cried when she saw the first event. "This is the daughter I always wanted," her mother whispered, "not the one I pushed into gold." Evelyn hugged her. "We've both learned," she replied gently. Kenneth still didn't stop completely, but now every time he tried to move against her, the public watched him. Every time someone close to Evelyn was questioned unfairly, people asked questions. Every time a rumor rose, women's voices rose louder, and Kenneth began to realize something painful. He could not control a woman who no longer feared him. One evening, Evelyn sat with her father under a quiet sky. She looked tired, but peaceful. "I used to think marrying him was my escape," she said softly. Her father smiled. "No," he said, "leaving him was." Evelyn looked at her phone messages from girls around the world. "Thank you," one wrote. "I left because you showed me it's possible." Evelyn smiled through tears. She was not as rich as before, but she was free. And free women are the richest of all.